Hello there, my name is Chang. I'm always climbing, and today I want to talk about how to increase the effectiveness of your stretching by 100%. Let's get started. First off, if you're stretching or you've been stretching for quite a while now and you're not getting more flexible, well, this video will definitely help you, because if you're not getting more flexible, the effectiveness of your current stretching program or how you're going about it is a big O0. And it probably stems from perspective as to how you or the general populace views stretching. Currently, stretching is viewed as this nice, soft, relaxing thing to do just to feel good. And while yes, it could definitely be that, it is that particular mindset that actually limits you from improving upon it. You see, when you view stretching, you have to actually look at it from a very analytical workout point of view. Therefore, it has to have a warm-up. It has to have working sets, it has to have 1 rep maxes, it has to have the correct amount of rest time, and of course it has to have a good amount of frequency. Every good workout begins with a nice warm-up that will warm your body up and get it ready to actually start doing set activity. In this case, stretching. Once you're done that, these working sets are going to be hard and arduous in order to actually push you to the point where you're able to make improvements instead of just trying to feel good. The goal of stretching is not to feel good. If you want to feel good, you go do other things. While stretching can be in that category, those other things be like relaxing, sleeping, massage, sauna, all that good things. But if you're stretching and you have a limitation that you want to improve upon, trying to relax into it is not the way to go about it. It is simply a band-aid, and we want a permanent fix. Therefore, look at it from the point of working out. And as your workout gets nice and intense, you need to have proper rest times. Those proper rest times can range anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes to 3 to 6 minutes, depending on how hard you're going. And we're talking about how hard you're going because the intensity needs to be nice and high. Just like when you're working out really hard and you're going for that 1 rep max, or you're pushing it really hard, the same thing can be applied to stretching, where you go to a stretch and you're like, okay, right now for this set, I'm gonna go deeper than I'm ever have. And then you dive right in, holding it for as long as you can, going as far as you can. And that's how we start to make improvements. Thus comes to frequency. How often are we going to go ahead and do this hard, arduous type of stretching session? Just like with any good program, push-pull legs or upper lower or bicep Mondays, whatever, however you want to look about it. Stretching should have its own specific days with a nice amount of rest days in between. I would say if you're starting off, you can go ahead and do 3 stretching sessions per week. But as you start to get a little bit more intense and whatnot, you could dial it back down to 2. Now that doesn't mean that 3 is better than 2 or 2 is better than 3. It just means when you first begin, the intensity will probably be lower because you just don't know how to activate that dog in you currently yet. So 3 is a nice amount. Once you're able to start to activate it, then you're going to realize that your muscles or your stretchiness needs a little bit of time to recover. Currently, I go twice per week. Could I go 3 times? Yes, but twice per week because I don't super love stretching. And even though you're going to view it as a workout, it doesn't mean that you can't go ahead and have those nice relaxing stretching sessions where you just do just to feel good. I actually kind of encourage that. While you have 2 hard sessions per week or 2 to 3 hard sessions per week, go ahead and toss in 1 nice relaxing stretching session. This does mean that each of your workouts should last approximately 30-ish to 45 minutes, where approximately 10 minutes is spent warming up, and then the next 20 is spent going balls to the wall, trying to get really flexible. You can even throw in a cool down if you like. And the workout program shouldn't be overly complicated with 30 different types of stretches, 30 different variants, and 30 whatever. Just like with a normal program, we all know if you want a big chest, just bench press. If you want nice shoulders, some form of an overhead press, legs, do some form of a squat. Same thing is true for stretching. If you want some form of flexible hips, do a stretch where your hips are really open to the side. Don't try to mix and match it and think that overcomplicated is the way to go. Very base, fundamental. If you want to open your legs, middle splits. If you want to open it that way, front splits. If you need overhead mobility, do some form of a dead hang or some form of overhead stretch. Stick to very basic stretches and put all your effort into those. And it is kind of hard to put all your effort into those specific stretches if when you're stretching, you don't feel as if you're doing too much. Which now we got to talk to progressive overload. Progressive overload is the act of doing more over time. When it comes to weights, it's very easy to see the number goes up as you start to push more and more weight. When it comes to stretching, it sometimes just feels as if you're not moving any where. And so what are the progressions we're going to look for when it comes to flexibility, getting more flexible? Now, of course, there's obviously the I'm able to reach further, I'm able to go lower. That right there is distance, of course. But now we also have time. How long can you hold a particular position that you couldn't have last workout? Oh, last workout, I could only stay here for 10 seconds. Today, 15. Next time, 20. So on and so forth. Or we can increase it in terms of sets. Wow, I did this stretch for 3 sets last time. Now I'm going to do it for 4. I've improved by 1 set. Of course, the ultimate measurement of this to actually make it make sense is distance, reaching further. So that should be the primary one, whereas every subsequent one or every one that comes after that's just very secondary. We're not looking just to feel good, nice and loose, and that's all fine and dandy. We're looking for actual, measurable, tangible, visual progress. And let's not forget about one of the most important things when it comes to any good workout or any good exercise, and that's the cues and the form. Form, when it comes to lifting weights, is very important. When it comes to stretching, just as important. There are people that are good at stretching and it can do the correct form, and there are people that are awful at it, even though they might be flexible enough to actually execute good proper form. And here's the thing about form when it comes to stretching. It's not about are you flexible enough, it's about are you disciplined enough. Do you know the correct cues? Do you know the correct positionings to be in? Because you could be super unflexible but have great form, and you could be really flexible and have no idea what you're doing. Like, for example, kids are super flexible, horrible form when it comes to stretching, horrible execution, horrible that. Whereas someone that's not super flexible, but they've been drilled into how to go ahead and execute and how to lift their toes up, engage their muscles, engage their core, be nice and tall, move forwards, not down, they will have excellent form. So focus on the form. Stretching well is a skill. It's not just a flexibility or a strength. Next, I want to talk about how a lot of people, when it comes to stretching, they automatically put themselves into a box called I am not flexible. I will never become flexible. I was born unflexible. I've never been flexible, blah, 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 blah. A whole bunch of excuses that mentally limits them, which physically then forces them to not try as hard to become flexible. Anytime the opportunity arises to become flexible, they'll automatically shut it down. They'll say something along the lines of, I've never been flexible. I would simply counter with, well, that's because you never stretch hard and proper or consistently, and you always giving up immediately. The thing about stretching is the more unflexible you are, the more potential you have for growth. Like, you will never go to the gym and say, wow, I am so weak, therefore I can never be strong. I'm never gonna work out. That's a bit ridiculous. No one ever says, I've always been weak, so I will always stay weak. No. If you want to get stronger, you're gonna start off at your lowest point, very weak. You can only bench press 45 pounds. Over time, you know that you put in enough work, effort, dedication, good programming, all that good stuff, you're going to get stronger, bigger, better overall. There's no difference when it comes to stretching. You're very unflexible right now. That's just your starting place. Don't dwell on it. Focus on your goals and then execute, which brings us to our goals. When it comes to setting your good stretching flexibility goals, have one very specific one. I want to become really good at the middle splits, and then focus most, if not all of your time just trying to expand your middle splits. You don't need to do all this fancy jumping through hoops and hurdles and do 100 different stretches. Focus on the big ones, as I said earlier. When you have your goal, which is very similar to something along the lines of, I want to bench press 225 pounds. Well, what do? You just keep bench pressing or create a program around bench pressing to get you to 225 pounds. Same thing is true for stretching. If you want to get middle splits, create a program around all of the exercises you need in order to do middle splits, which in this case is basically just almost like 2 or 3. It's not more than that. And I want to touch upon the fact that 2 and 3 exercises, you will be surprised at how flexible you are, generally speaking, if you just master 2 to 3 big stretches. You master 2 to 3 big stretches and everything just opens itself up for you. Is very universal in that way. And that does bring me to the point of effort. Stretching is all about high effort. If you're not putting in effort while lifting weights, we have numbers and weight plates that you can stack onto the bar to actually see how much effort you're putting in. When it comes to stretching, it's not that simple. All the effort you're putting in will have to be inside your brain, and you can't trick yourself into thinking, wow, I tried hard. No, you have to go as hard as you can, 100%. You have to be very good at knowing how hard you're pushing your body, which is difficult if you're new to stretching, because you'll always automatically assume if you feel a little bit of uncomfortableness, a little bit of tightness, or perhaps a little bit of uncomfortable pain, you will assume you're going as hard as you can. But that is when it just begins. And finally, I want to finish this off with consistency. Nothing good or nothing great or nothing fabulous happens while being consistent when it comes to stretching, and you only stretch twice a week. If you don't stretch once in that week, you only stretch once a week, and once a week is not enough to become flexible. And even if you manage to stretch every day for a whole month, if you stop, your body will start to become unflexible. If you don't use it, you lose it. And while you might have a routine where you stretch every single day before you work out, but if that routine isn't making you more flexible, then you're consistently bad at stretching, and we don't want that, which just brings me back to the first point. Anyways, those were the principles, the tips that I implement into my own stretching routine to make sure I do continue to make progress, or I maintain the progress that I have. Now you know.